Not this time.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Fantasy 420, where today we're going to be returning to the gridiron and discussing some 2019 NFL free agent quarterback winners. This NFL offseason, we experienced some historically active player movement, and I figured it'd be best to document that with the winners and losers series regarding specific players who either came up or lost fantasy value at each position in regards to the offseason movement. Today I'm going to be giving you my opinion on which 5 quarterbacks' 2019 fantasy value were most positively helped by all the offseason action. And obviously, free agency and trades are a big part of the discussion, but there are also many other factors to consider for these specific players. So I'm going to be going through the names last to first, but last is still the 5th most helped, in my opinion, quarterback in the league. So it should be a boon to their season going forward. The first name I'm going to go to, and number 5 on the list, is Nick Foles. He's an obvious winner overall as he finally gets a starting job on an NFL team, which I believe he deserves. He got a 4-year, $88 million deal to be the new quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I just think it's a great fit for him and the team. It gives them a locker room leader. Everybody in Philadelphia, from players to coaches, always raved about his leadership and his positive attitude. And he also gives them a Super Bowl MVP presence, somebody who's succeeded in the biggest stage of the playoffs and somebody who's going to command respect in the huddle. I think given a healthy Leonard Fournette and a reinvigorated defense with those things being considered, this team is just one season removed from an AFC Championship loss to the Patriots. And if we take into account last year's expectations, maybe them being a quarterback away, if that happens to be Nick Foles and he does happen to be the right fit, then it's going to be a big boost to his fantasy year. I do think there's a little bit of uncertainty as he's never really had success away from Philadelphia, and maybe the Doug Peterson RPO offense was a big reason of his success a couple years ago, but I'm going to buy into Foles and this team being a great fit, and I think that'll help his fantasy value a lot. The next name, and number 4 on the list, is going to be Aaron Rodgers. I think he was also helped tremendously in the offseason. I think the looming Mike McCarthy specter of when he was going to be fired finally happening is going to be a big boost to his fantasy season. I think their new coach, Matt LaFleur, was possibly handpicked by Rodgers, and at the very least, he had a big say in it. He's a former quarterback guru and offensive coordinator for Sean McVay, spent last season with the Titans, and just has a lot of offensive experience and quarterback experience, and that should definitely help Rodgers, and he should be in tune with his new coach, I would believe. Also, the worst kept secret in the league last year was the free Aaron Jones movement in fantasy football. I think he's going to have every opportunity to put that to bed this offseason, and I believe he will. He's been talked up by the organization, and I think he's going to be given every chance at running back, and that hole or question mark will also be filled. I also believe they made a ton of defensive upgrades, and that was a unit that needed to be improved, so they should be a better team overall. But I also think that this will allow the draft to make them focus on tight end, line, wide receiver to possibly help Aaron Rodgers, and getting him another weapon early on would be really nice. Also, just another year from their young players, Valdez-Scantling, Equanimeous St. Brown, running backup Jamal Williams. Hopefully another year for those guys, as they're going to need them to play a big role, will be a big help as well. So I love this offseason for Aaron Rodgers. Moving on to the third name, I'm going to go with Derek Carr for the Oakland Raiders. Obviously, they added Antonio Brown, who's arguably the best receiver in the last decade. I would say it's pretty inarguable in that he is, but I'm sure there's somebody who would say something. But they also added Tyrell Williams, who's a deep threat that will take the cover off of the defense and maybe provide protection to Antonio Brown. I love that signing as well. They also have 4 picks in the first 35 selections, 2 extra first round picks from the Amari Cooper Khalil Mack trade, and they could look to also improve their line, tight end, wide receiver, especially their running back, as it's a little bit shaky with Doug Martin and Marshawn Lynch looking to hold it down together. So hopefully they use some of those to help Carr as well. And I also think it's important to note that their division has lost a lot this offseason. The Chiefs have lost Kareem Hunt and maybe Tyreek Williams to a suspension. Also, a ton of defensive players. Everyone on the Los Angeles Chargers offense is either a health concern or aging in Phillip Rivers. So who knows with them? They're a little bit shaky. And Denver is definitely in a transitory phase with Emmanuel Sanders being hurt, trading for Case Keenum, who knows, with quarterback and a bunch of young receivers. They're in a transitory phase, so I like what the defense has done in according to the Raiders, and that only helps Derek Carr. So moving on to number 2, I'm going to go with Sam Darnold of the New York Jets. Obviously adding Le'Veon Bell. He's a game changer at the running back position, one of the best in the league. He's a quarterback's best friend with the dump offs, so once he gets in trouble, he'll be looking for one of the best pass catching running backs in the league now. Robbie Anderson hits unrestricted free agency next year, so he's in a big prove it year, so I'm expecting him to try to have a big monster year. They just signed Jamison Crowder, who I'm not really sure of, as well as Quincy Enunwa, but hopefully both of them can combine to be a decent wide receiver too. They also have a number 3 pick really high in the draft, so they should pick up a generational talent. They're a team on the rise, I'm not going to lie. And their division is arguably even more in flux than the Raiders' division. Miami just changed coaches and is projected to start Ryan Fitzpatrick as quarterback, and they literally have questions at every skill position that they have. The Bills should be drafting some skill position players, but every skill position for them is also a question mark. Their only offensive sure thing is Josh Allen, who's going into his second year as Darnold and just received a lot less help. And the Pats lost Gronk. Brady's another year older. The Robert Kraft saga going on. So who knows with them? I expect them to see a decline, and if it's a massive drop-off, you could see the Jets go as far as win that division with all the other teams' lack of movement and as much as they've done. So all that has helped Sam Darnold tremendously, and he might be a sleeper quarterback, high-end quarterback 2, or maybe even better going forward next year. Who knows if we see some steps in his player progression. Finally, the number 1 most helped quarterback, you all knew it was going to be Baker Mayfield. Cleveland Browns gained Odell Beckham, and before all this, keep in mind, he set the rookie TD record last year, -2 games. So we're in love with the talent. Gains Odell Beckham, moves Jarvis Landry to his natural slot position to feast and not face the best cornerback on the other team who's going to be guarding Odell. They get Kareem Hunt after 8 games. He had success under new coach Freddie Kitchens. And as well as that, Freddie Kitchens' first year as a head coach, there's a lot of incentive for him to do well. And with as poor as the Browns have been as a franchise and team, there's going to be incentive for them to do well. And I believe that's going to be to score as much as possible. And they're going to be showing no mercy this year, I believe. So, not to mention their division as well. Steelers lost Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. The Ravens lost 4 defensive starters and their whole wide receiver core. The Bengals have a brand new coach, and they're rolling out Andy Dalton, AJ Green and company On offense, Tyler Eifert. So who knows? I mean, I just think the Browns are number one in that division with a bullet, and I would buy into Baker Mayfield this year while they're going to be that team trying to catch fire. All the other teams in the division, the Patriots, Chiefs, ahead of them vastly, regressed in the offseason, like I mentioned. So the sky is basically the limit for the Browns. Those are my names going forward, guys. I'm really happy to present to you my biggest quarterback winners. If you disagree and or think I left someone off, please let me know. I'm more than happy to hear what you guys think. But I will be back tomorrow with the quarterback losers. There were definitely some quarterbacks who were hurt by this offseason, and we will have to go over them too. But otherwise, guys, it's a pleasure as always. I will talk to you tomorrow with another video, and take it easy.